Hello, welcome to the video. We're looking at section 9.4, where we're going to be solving quadratic equations by completing the square. So, like I've said, previous lessons in this chapter, we're looking at different methods on being able to discover what the x-intercepts are for each quadratic equation. So we looked at graphing through factoring. We looked at solving square roots. The stipulation for square roots was b um, had to be equal to 0. And so now today we're going to be looking at completing the square. So the stipulation here and how you can solve a quadratic equation by completing the square is if we look at a general formula of ax squared plus bx plus c, is the main stipulation is a has to equal 1. All right, it has to equal 1 in order for us to go about solving it through completing the square. Okay. Reason for that is we are using this formula right here. All right, we are going to be using this formula right here where it is it is x squared plus bx plus it's going to be b over 2 quantity squared, which is going to be our value for c. All right, so there's going to be some instances where we may have a value for C or we may not have a value for C, but we can dictate what it is if we know what B is by using B divided by 2 and then squaring it. What this does here is it creates a perfect square trinomial, which means that you can rewrite this as a square of a binomial. So this can then be switched as x plus b over 2 quantity squared, and that will help us determine what the x-intercepts is during during the process of solving these particular equations. Okay, so for the first part, they're not equations, they're expressions. So all they want us to do is they want us to complete the square of the expression, which means if they're asking us to complete the square of the expression where there's no equal sign, we are trying to find a value for C. So in this particular instance, I have x squared plus 6x. So it's going to be plus, well, b is 6. So this is just going to be 6 divided by 2. And then it's going to be, oh, sorry, squared, not cubed. It's going to be squared. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. So my completed square is x squared plus 6x plus 9. So that's how I can complete the square on this particular one. Then it wants you to factor the trinomial, which means is that it's going to be the x plus b over 2, which is right here, 6 over 2, which is 3 quantity squared. So here's are the two results that we are looking for this particular situation. If we looked at b, example b, x squared minus 9x, now I have x squared minus 9x plus, in parentheses, negative 9 over 2 quantity squared. Well, negative 9 divided by 2 is negative 4.5. Square that, you get 20 and a quarter, 20.25. So it's going to be x squared minus 9x plus 20.25. to factor this out, it's going to be x plus, and it's going to be a negative 4.5 quantity squared, or you can write it as x minus 4.5 quantity squared. Either way works. So again, I encourage you to give these a try to determine what that value for c is, plus factor out the trinomial. All right, if you have questions, please leave comment, and I will answer those questions accordingly. So now what we have is we have an equation because we have an equal sign now, and they want us to complete the square. So two things have to be true. Remember, a has to equal 1. And then the second thing is all constants need to be on the all variables on one side. So like variables on one side of the equal sign and non-variables, constants, on the other. So this is nice. All variables are on one side. Great. All non-variables on the other side. Great. So we can go about completing the square on the variable side. So I got x squared minus 16x plus, this is going to be negative 16 divided by 2, which is negative 8. Squaring that, I get 64. So on the left-hand side, I just completed the square like I did in the examples prior. It's now going to be equal to negative 15. But because I added this 64 to the left-hand side of the equation, I must do that to the right-hand side of the equation. From here, what we're going to do is this x squared minus 16x plus 16, I want to factor that as the square of a binomial. So now this turns into x minus, well, it's going to be x plus, but it's going to be a negative value, so that's why I have the minus. I know it's minus because of that sign right there. X minus would be what? 16 over 2, which is 8. Quantity squared is going to be equal to negative 15 plus 64, which is 49. Now, what I have here is I have a square, so I can actually use square roots now like we did in the last section in order to solve this. I take the square root of both sides. Square root of x minus 8 quantity squared is x minus 8, and it's going to be equal to both plus or minus 7. So now I know this has two x-intercepts, and I get to break this up into two separate equations. X minus 8 is equal to positive 7. X minus 8 is equal to negative 7. Adding 8 to both sides, x equals 15 and x equals 1. So 1 comma 0 is my x-intercept, and 15 comma 0 is going to be my other x-intercept. So looking at this example here, a does not equal 1. So what we got to do first is we have to make it equal to 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the um, entire equation by what a is right now. So a is 2, so I'm going to divide everything by 2. So now what I get is x squared plus 10x minus 4 is equal to 0. So got the first part of this completed. I got a to be 1. Now I need all variables on one side, all non-variables on the other. So this minus 4 can't be on that side. I have to move it to the other side. So now it's going to be x squared plus 10x is equal to 4. Okay, so got everything. All variables on one side, all non-variables on another. I'm going to now begin to complete the square of x squared plus 10x. So I'm going to find my value for c. X squared plus 10x plus 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. And then that's going to be equal to 4 plus 25, because since I added 25 to the left side, I must do that to the right-hand side. From here, we factor out x squared plus 10x plus 25, and this is going to be x plus 10 divided by 2, which is 5, quantity squared, and this is going to be equal to 4 plus 25, which is 29. All right. Since they don't give us any other stipulations, I'm just going to round this because 29 is not uh, a perfect square number. So this is going to be x plus 5, and this is going to be plus or minus, and we'll say this is about 5.39. All right, so if I round to the nearest hundredth. So now I got x plus 5 is equal to positive 5.39, and x minus 5 is equaling to, plus, I'm sorry, is equaling to negative 5.39. All right, so subtracting 5 from both sides in the first one, 5.39 minus 5 is x is going to be 0.39. And subtracting, so I get x is what, negative 10.39. So those are my two x intercepts for that particular situation. So again, this is just a little bit of review. Remember, it asks for the minimum value. Makes sense. A is positive, so that means anytime they're looking for that minimum value, they're looking for the vertex. So to find the vertex, to find the x-coordinate of the vertex, you had to use the x-symmetry equation, negative b over 2a. This one is going to be what? Negative 4, because b is 4 and it's negative. And then it's going to be 2 times 1, which is 2. And negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So that's my x-coordinate. So if I was looking for that value, I would say my vertex is at negative 2, comma. Now to find what y is, I'm going to take this negative 2 and substitute it into those variables of x to solve for y. So now I get y equals negative 2 squared plus 4 times it by negative 2 minus 1. Negative 2 squared is 4, so I got 4 plus a negative 8 minus 1. 4 plus negative 8 is negative 4. Negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. So this maximum value is negative 2 comma negative 5. Again, this is the same thing, but now it's a maximum value because a is negative. So again, you're trying to find the vertex, and you're going to find the vertex just like you did in the previous example. If you need, if you have questions, please let me know. I'm more than happy to answer them. Last thing here, it says which of the functions could be represented by the graph, and it says explain. So I have four possible functions for this, all right? So looking at this graph right now, I know that A is negative because it's going downward. So anywhere there A is positive is eliminated. So already that's eliminated. Looking at this particular equation here, this one shows up as a quadratic function where it has h and k, which is the location of the vertex right there. So I know that my vertex location is going to be at negative 4 comma 8. All right, there's my vertex. Is that negative 4 comma 8? No, because I know that this is going to be positive and this is going to be positive. So this is not part of it. So what I'm left with is two possible scenarios. So I got this one here. This tells me that it's my vertex is at positive 5 comma 9. So we're still, have a possibility there. And we have a vertex. I don't know what the vertex is, but they can tell us here that the x-intercepts are going to be 2 and 8. So could this be 2 comma 0 and this could be 8 comma 0? Absolutely. So to say in this particular one, I have two possible answers. I could say that this one is definitely a possibility, and this one is definitely a possibility. Okay, because since there's no other numbers to it, I can't make any other conclusions. So it could be these two answers, and that is being able to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. Hope this helps. Until next time.